Hello everyone, how are you? Are you ready to listen? We're going to discuss the learning module I sent last time about plagiarism, effective note-taking. Again, are you ready? I hope you're all ready. After going through this module, you are expected to use various techniques in summarizing a variety of academic texts. Last time, I also sent or posted in our classwork the texts, the three texts which are connected to our topic, which is plagiarism. You're going to identify the differences between the three. But I'm going to read this right now. This is the first one. The two types of surrogacy currently known to date are traditional and gestational surrogacy. For the traditional method, the surrogate mother is artificially inseminated either by an intended father or an anonymous sperm donor, as the surrogate mother will have planned to bear her own child. Hence, the child is related to both the surrogate mother and the intended father or the anonymous sperm donor. People who usually do this would want to raise a child without sexual intimacy from the opposite sex. In the gestational method, however, an egg is removed from the hopeful mother to be fertilized by the sperm of the intended father. The fertilized egg is then implanted into the uterus of the surrogate mother, who will carry the child to term. In contrast with the traditional method, the child is not related to the surrogate mother, but only to the intended father or the anonymous sperm donor and the mother who possessed the egg. Watson H. 2012, Surrogacy, Unpublished Essay, Department of English and Applied Linguistics, De La Salle University, Manila, Philippines. So that is the text. Now, let's move to the second text I'm going to read. This one. We're going to find out what are the differences between them. Second one. Watson, 2012, states that the two types of surrogacy currently known to date are traditional and gestational surrogacy. For the traditional method, the surrogate mother is artificially inseminated either by an intended father or an anonymous sperm donor, as the surrogate mother will have planned to bear her own child. Hence, the child is related to both the surrogate mother and the intended father or the anonymous sperm donor. People who usually do this would want to raise a child without sexual intimacy from the opposite sex. In the gestational method, however, an egg is removed from the hopeful mother to be fertilized by the sperm of the intended father. The fertilized egg is then implanted into the uterus of the surrogate mother, who will carry the child to term. In contrast, with the traditional method, the child is not related to the surrogate mother, but only to the intended father or the anonymous sperm donor in the mother who possessed the child. That is the second example. Last, I'm going to read it again. Watson, 2012, states that the traditional and gestational are two methods of surrogacy. For the traditional method, the surrogate mother is artificially inseminated either by an intended father or someone who the mother does not know but is willing to father the child. Hence, the child is related to both the surrogate mother and the intended father or the anonymous sperm donor. The reason of this is that sexual intimacy is not the objective but procreation. On the other hand, gestational surrogacy occurs when an egg is taken out of the woman's system and is fertilized and is implanted to the womb of another woman. As opposed to the traditional method, the child is not related to the surrogate mother, but only to the intended father or the anonymous sperm donor and the mother who possessed the egg. Do you think what are the differences between them? Has anyone already answered the material I posted? We are going to discuss it right now. In the first text, that is copied word for word from a source. That's why the text is here, above and below is the source. Don't forget that. Because later on we'll discuss what is plagiarism. Why do we need to attach the source? Second one. Here, the second text or second example. This is an example of word-for-word plagiarism of the text. Notice that the writer simply cites the author but copies the whole text verbatim. Look, the source is Mr. Tuasan in 2012. The writer of this text wrote or copies the site or the author, which is Tuasan, but he copies the whole text verbatim. But the last one, this is a patchwork plagiarism. Why did we call it patchwork plagiarism? Because the ideas of the source are mixed. Why mixed? The source is here, but the interpretation of the writer of this text is also here, creating patches of the text where ownership of ideas is unclear. It is the mixture of interpretation of the writer and the ideas of the author of the original text. Now, what do we mean by plagiarism? When we say plagiarism, it is a serious form of academic dishonesty and is frowned upon in the academy. Plagiarism is the representation of another author's language, thoughts, ideas, or expressions as one's own original work. In educational context, there are different definitions of plagiarism depending on the institution. It is also considered as a violation of academic integrity and a breach of journalistic ethics. So, it's a serious form of academic dishonesty. It is defined as the copying verbatim of language and ideas of other writers and taking credit for them. Therefore, the academic writers have a great responsibility to account for the ideas and language of others, of course. Similar to treating someone else belonging, say for example, you need to respect the ownership of what is not yours. In sum, great care should be observed in writing a text that depends on outside sources. So never copy an idea from others without copying or without a credit for the original source. This respect can be preserved by using note-taking strategies and techniques for replacing materials of your work. Citations can be done also to acknowledge the ownership of the work you use. Like here, in the first example, we respect the material by giving or by copying the main source, which is Tuasan, with the year and where is the location. Note-taking techniques such as summarizing, we have using quotations, paraphrasing are used to address plagiarism of language. This means that aside from citing work to attribute ownership of ideas, the language must observe novelty, such as it express the ideas of work cited, but at the same time, employs the voice of the author writing the academic paper. Are you getting my point? Here, there are two types of plagiarism. The plagiarism of ideas and plagiarism of language. Maybe some of you just know the plagiarism, but we do not know the differences of the two types, which are the plagiarism of ideas and plagiarism of language. Plagiarism of ideas. It occurs when credit for a work is ascribed to oneself untruthfully. That is the plagiarism of ideas. For instance, if one is writing a paper on the theory of relativity of physics and no mention of Einstein is given, the writer explicitly or implicitly claims that this theory is his or hers. You're getting my point? Plagiarism of ideas has been committed in that situation, in that case, because he or she didn't mention the source, who is Einstein. We have different ways of citation here. First, author-oriented citation. Second, text-oriented citation. And lastly, the other way of citation. First, author-oriented citation. This one. It starts with the surname or the last name, followed by the year of publication in the parentheses, verbs of the statement such as argues, posits, and emphasizes at the start of the paragraph or sentence may be used, like here. Pulido, open parentheses 2012, close parentheses, believes that language in an online environment can be understood if other modes of online communication are further analyzed to provide a full account of interaction in virtual worlds. So that is an example of author-oriented. Surname followed by the year of publication and a verb of statement. Next, text-oriented citation. A while ago, it starts with the surname of the author. Now, what comes first? A paragraph or sentence from a source is followed with a surname of the author. So it means the surname of the author occurs at the end of the sentences or paragraph. And the year of publication followed by the surname. The citation must be enclosed in parentheses. Let's see the example here. The first example, the author-oriented citation and the text-oriented citation. Here, the example is, unless educators realize the importance of reading and writing across the subject areas, problems in comprehension of subject matter will be a prominent issue in the teaching and learning process. Istasio, open parentheses, Istasio, 2010, close parentheses. Here, we can also make author-oriented citation in this case. Say for example, Istasio, open parentheses, 2010, close parentheses, taught that unless educators realize the importance of reading and writing across subject areas, problems in comprehension of subject matter will be a prominent issue in teaching and learning process. It could be, or it could say that the verb may be say, argues, believes, emphasizes, right? But here, in author-oriented citation, we can also make it become text-oriented, like language in an online environment can be understood if other modes of online communication are further analyzed to provide a full account of interactional and virtual words. Open parentheses, Pulido, 2012, close parentheses. Are you getting my point? Can you see the difference between author-oriented citation and text-oriented citation? Let's move on to another way of citation. What is this? You start a sentence or paragraph by using phrase according to, followed by the surname of the author and the year of publication enclosed in parentheses, like this. According to Mendoza, 1990, by the end of the century, our fuel reserves will be reduced to half, and the scarcity of energy supplies will be a big problem. So that is another way of citation. Here, the example in text-oriented citation, we can translate or transform that in another way of citation, like this one. According to Gestational 2012, unless educators realize blah 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 blah. So the difference only is, here in another way of citation, it starts with according to, followed by the surname and the author of the year, and followed by the exact words uttered by the main source. Okay? That is the difference. In author-oriented citation, the name comes first, followed by the year of publication in parentheses, verb, and the paragraph or the sentence. Here, in text-oriented, the text comes first, then enclosed in the open and closed parentheses are the name or surname and the year of publication. But in another way of citation, it starts with the word according to, followed by the surname, the year, and the sentence. Next, that is plagiarism of ideas. How about plagiarism of language? What is this? Plagiarism of language, it happens when an author uses the language of another writer and claims it as his own. There are several types of plagiarism of language. In ideas, in plagiarism of ideas, it occurs when credit of a work is ascribed to oneself untruthfully. But here, in plagiarism of language, it happens when the author uses the language of another writer and totally claims it as his or her own. Here, the example. This is the text that I present to you a while ago, the first text. Again, I'm going to read this. The two types of surrogacy currently known today are traditional and gestational surrogacy. For the traditional method, the surrogate mother is artificially inseminated either by an intended father or an anonymous sperm donor, as the surrogate mother will have planned to bear her own child. Hence, the child is related to both surrogate mother and the intended father or the anonymous sperm donor. People who usually do this would want to raise a child without sexual intimacy from opposite sex. In the gestational method, however, an egg is removed from the hopeful mother to be fertilized by the sperm of the intended father. The fertilized egg is then implanted into the uterus of surrogate mother, who will carry the child to term. In contrast with the traditional method, the child is not related to the surrogate mother, but only to the intended father or the anonymous sperm donor in the mother who possessed the child. Tuason, H. 2012, Surrogacy, unpublished essay, Department of English and Applied Linguistics, De La Salle University, Manila, Philippines. So that example is copied word for word from a source, as what I said a while ago. Next, this one. This example, the second text I read a while ago, is an example of word-for-word plagiarism of the text. Plagiarism of the text. Notice that the writer simply cites the author but copies the whole text verbatim. The the text, the original text is here. Though he wrote or he gave the information of the source, which is Tuasan, and the year when it was published. But then it is a word for word plagiarism, getting the idea of another source completely. Okay? Last one. Try to compare. In this example, the writer commits patchwork plagiarism. Why? Because when ideas from the source are mixed with interpretation of the writer, creating patches of text where ownership of ideas unclear. It becomes unclear, like this one. Tuasan states the two types of surrogacy currently known to date are traditional and gestational surrogacy. For the traditional method, the surrogate mother is artificially inseminated either by an intended father or it is not someone who the mother does not know but is willing to father the child. It is not stated to the original text, but the writer of this text, or the one who copied this text, put his own interpretation. That's why it becomes patchwork plagiarism. Next, hence, the child is related to both surrogate mother and the intended father or the anonymous sperm donor. The reason, again, the writer or the one who copied this, again, inserted his own interpretation or his own word. That's why the readers will be confused who will be or who is the one, or maybe we will be confused who is the real author of this text. Okay? The reason of this is that sexual intimacy is not the objective but procreation. On the other hand, gestational surrogacy occurs when an egg is taken out of the woman's system and is fertilized and is implanted in the womb of another woman. This is not the exact words came from the original text. So that is an example of patchwork plagiarism. To address plagiarism of language, effective note-taking techniques should be used. As mentioned earlier, citations are used to attribute ownership of ideas to authors. Note-taking techniques, on the other hand, allow you to rephrase original text into your own. And that is note-taking. There are three types of note-taking. Using direct quotation, using quotation marks between the words of the original author, summarizing, and paraphrasing. First, using direct quotational or direct quotations. It is employed for statements that are so closely associated that altering the words may lose its rhetorical impact. For instance, the statement of Ninoy Aquino, "The Filipino is worth dying for," is too short to be summarized, right? The rhetorical impact of the work is lessened if the statement is paraphrased. The following are some points to consider employing direct quotations. These are the example. Some points. Number 1. Using direct quotation means to lift text and enclose them in quotation marks. In addition to the author's name, the page are included like this. Globalization is just a covert theme or term of colonization. Close parenthesis, close quotation, and Reyes, 1994 in the page 2. That is the first one. Second one, if the text is too long, take note. If the text is too short, you can use the quotation marks, okay, the direct quotation. But if the text is too long, you may omit certain parts and replace them with an ellipsis, or ellipsis, 3 dots, 3 periods. It means to be continued. If the words omitted are at the end of the statement, another dot is added, making it 4, right? When it is 4, it means it is the end. Like this. Smartphones resulted from global innovations in technology, ellipsis, which means there are more statement here which is not that important. And continue the more important text, which is, and therefore consumers need to be updated on the latest trends if they want to maximize opportunities offered by these gadgets to make daily activities more convenient. Close parenthesis. Declaro 2012, page 7. That's it. That's one of the points in employing direct quotations. Number 3. Interpolation may be done to insert notes within the direct quoted passage to help readers understand the context of the statement. Interpolation is marked by open and close bracket. Here, example. The Kiros, Zabala, Uy, and Lee believe that the education sector should address the material conditions of school to improve teaching and learning. Danao, 2011, page 7. Interpolation may be done here. The names Dikiras, Zabala, Oy, and Lee are removed and replaced by the word educators to make it short. But don't forget to use open and close bracket. First quotation marks, then open bracket, the word educator or the word to be replaced by the names, the following names, close bracket, then the words or the sentences or the statement. Believe that the education sector should address the material conditions of school to improve teaching and learning. Close quotation mark. Then the name of the author, the year of publication in the page, enclosed by open and close parentheses. Number 4. Using too many direct quotations does not reveal your identity as an author. Specifically, it is important that you develop your own voice and style of writing in expressing ideas. Using others' statements helps in arguments but does not show your original instinct in making claims. Therefore, as a result of thumb, 20% of the total length of the work may employ direct quotations. For instance, if the prompt of the essay requires you to write at least 1,000 words, say for example, you may only have a total of 200 words allotted for direct quotation. Never write those 100% of the exact words from the original author. It's too long to write the 1,000 words, right? It should be 20% only. Example, smartphones resulted from global innovations in technology, ellipsis, and therefore, consumers need to be updated on the latest trends if they want to maximize opportunities offered by these gadgets to make daily activities more convenient. Enclosed by quotation marks, Declaro 2010, page 11, enclosed by parentheses. Let's count the total words. Smartphone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are lots of, here, the examples here are not above 100 words, right? Maybe, again, let's count 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. So, we only have 36 words here. It means less than 1,000 words are the exact words of the statement of the original author, declaro. Only 20%. Always remember that. Let's move to summarizing. What is summarizing? It is a short statement of the main idea of the text. Ideally, it is a third of the original text of your paper. Unlike in quotation, in direct quotation, only 20%. Here, a third of original text means 33%, 33.3% of the original text. For developing your summary, the following tips may be helpful. First, make sure to read the text thoroughly and highlight the important details in the text. Highlight. Bear in mind that certain details have relationships, cause and effect, for example, and this needs to be noted as well. Take down note the important details. Highlight them. Next, after getting the main ideas or idea, use your own words in your summary. Use your own word. Don't copy-paste. Make sure to check if the relationships between ideas are established. Next, when done with your summary, recheck. Always recheck your output with the original to see if your output does not stray from the original text. You may check your teacher or peers' feedback to be sure. You need the help of others. You need the help of your colleagues. Next, paraphrasing. Last one. Paraphrasing to avoid plagiarism. Paraphrasing is a restatement in your own words as well of the main idea and supporting details of a text. A paraphrase may match the length of the original work. It could be matched to the original work, to the length of it, but using your own words. Though paraphrasing may be considered more challenging than summarizing, paraphrasing allows little opportunities for misinterpretation on the part of the reader as you account for both major and minor points. Consider the following tips in crafting your paraphrases. First, read the text thoroughly, like in summarizing. Noting both main ideas and supporting details, like in summarizing. If confronted with a long text, you may outline these ideas, or you can make an outline to distinguish the major points from the minor ones. You can use an outline. After identifying these, carefully state the major and the minor points in your own words, making sure that the relationship between and among these ideas are observed. Last one. Finally, when the paraphrase is done, compare your work. Again, recheck with the other or with the original intention of the author are not changed. Take note of that. The following are also several ways of paraphrasing. Literal paraphrasing. Number 1. This type only replaces vocabulary term from the original text. From the word itself, literal. You can only replace the vocabulary in the original text. Number 2, structural paraphrasing. This type changes the sentence structure as well as the word class of the keywords of the original text. You are changing the structure of your sentences. You are paraphrasing it. That is structural. When the structure is changed. Alternative paraphrasing. In this type, the writer first poses questions about the text, such as what the text is about, how the main idea is supported, and the stand of the author about the topic. Then the writer answers this question using his or her own words after reading the text. Make sure that all the ideas are connected. In paraphrasing, you can have your guided questions, your guide questions before reading the text. Then, take note or always remember your questions before reading. And while you are reading, you are able to answer those questions. And then after that, you can have your paraphrase. And that is alternative paraphrasing. If there are guide questions. You're getting my point? Example. Mobile and computer technology may also affect children's sociability. The use of this technology may take away hours from children's social and playing time. Yet, from the other perspective, it can help cultivate their communicative and social skills through using different social media platforms and sharing apps with friends. Sabia and Tata, 2014. So that is the original text. Now, let's compare the summary and the paraphrase sentences. In summary, here, this is the original text was being summarized here. Subia and Tatel, 2012, always take note, always remember. The source is always stated. Subia and Tatel, 2014, view technology as something that may affect social lives of children in a negative and positive way. So, in short, this is it. All the text in the original, all the meaning or the message of the first original text is already here in the summary. But in the paraphrase, it looks like much or longer than the original. Sabihin and Tatal, 2014, points out that though technology may have a negative impact in children's ability to socialize since it minimizes chances of real life and interaction with others, they believe that through interactive features of technology such as sharing apps and varying platforms for exchange, technology can enhance social skills among its young users. So, everything is paraphrased. But the writer, the one who paraphrased it, mentioned the source. Okay? Now, to make it short, I am going to summarize our topic today. But before that, do the activity experience in our classwork. Instructions, summaries, and paraphrase the text below. Be sure to include appropriate citations. Always do that. This is the text. Studies have found that paper bags have a longer carbon footprint compared to plastic bags because of the amount of energy, water, and chemicals the production of paper bags consume. In a briefing note prepared by Christabel and Susie Cave, 2011, for the Northern Ireland Assembly, it is reported that manufacturing paper bags requires about 4 times the amount of energy plastic bags do. Also, the production of paper bags contributes more air and water pollution compared to plastic bags. Other than high energy consumption during processing, it also requires paper bags more energy to be transported. This is because compared to the plastic bags, paper bags weigh more and take up more space, resulting in the need for more resources to transport them. Chua, also 2014. Now, to summarize this, plagiarism is a serious form of academic dishonesty. Always remember that. To avoid plagiarism, because we have plagiarism of ideas and plagiarism of language. And plagiarism of ideas, it occurs when credit of a work is ascribed to oneself untruthfully. In plagiarism of language, it happens when an author uses the language of another writer and claims it as his or her own. And there are lots of citations to be used in plagiarism of ideas, such as author-oriented citation. The author comes first, the year and verb and the exact words. Text-oriented, the text comes first before the surname and the year of publication. Another way of citation is the word or phrase according to the surname, the year enclosed by parentheses of publication in the statement. However, in plagiarism of language, there is what we call word-by-word plagiarism and patchwork plagiarism. And we can use direct quotation, summarizing, and paraphrasing to avoid plagiarism. So that's all for today. And I hope you understood our lesson. And again, I repeat, it's redundant. Again, please answer all the activities in the classwork. Answer them, the experience and explore. Also, history study so that we can develop your writing skills, especially that our subject is about academic and professional purposes. And writing is also important for us in the future. That's all for today. Have a great afternoon and day ahead. Goodbye. God bless everyone.